Welcome to Part 3 in our series of tutorials aimed at working with databases in MobileTogether. The purpose of this tutorial is to explain how to enable users to upload images to your app. We will continue to build on the Books database example used in previous tutorials. If you have not already done so, please make sure to watch our introductory video focused on using MobileTogether, as well as the previous two tutorials focused on databases. Links to these tutorials, as well as the example file used in this video, are in the description below. During this tutorial, we will be modifying the Edit Book subpage by adding controls to enable users to upload pictures from either their camera or their photo gallery. We will also provide mechanisms to delete the current image, rotate it both clockwise and counterclockwise, and automatically resize it if necessary. Open the Books project completed in the previous tutorial. If you're missing this project, please download it from the link in the description below. The final version of this page, seen on the screen now, will be modified slightly to include 3 buttons above the image control and rotation buttons to the left. The first thing we need to do is prepare the main table for additional controls. Select a cell in the bottom row of the main table and click the Append Row button on the toolbar. Click and drag the existing image control to the bottom right cell. This will make room for us to place button controls. Next up, drag a table control to the cell above the image control. This table should contain 4 columns and 1 row. The left 2 and far right columns will contain buttons, while the third will remain blank to provide separation. Drag a button control out to the left column and name it Camera. Edit the actions for this button by right-clicking on it and selecting Control Actions for On button clicked. When a user clicks this button, we want to open their camera and allow them to take a picture. This task can be accomplished by using the Let User Choose Image action. Drag this action to the On-Click section on the right. Select Camera in the first drop-down. This will tell the control that it needs to open the user's camera to retrieve a picture. Now click on the XPath button next to the target node. Locate the image node in the Edit Book data source and double-click on it. Doing this will write the picture taken to the image node as a base64 encoded image. For now, leave the rest of the options blank and click OK. At this point, we have a way to get an image from the user's camera. Run the simulator, select a book, and click on the camera button. A prompt will come up to select the image. Locate and select a file. Note the example on the screen. The image I have selected is quite large and does not fit in the confines of the screen. This is a problem that we can solve. Go ahead and close the simulator. To resize this image, we will need to add a few extra steps to the image upload process. First, rather than writing the image directly to the image node, let's write it to a temporary node. Doing this will allow us to examine and manipulate the image prior to pushing it to the data source. Create a temporary node in the persistent data source and call it Image Source. Right-click on the new element and select Ensure Exists on Load. Next, let's edit the camera button. You can either double-click on the lightning bolt or right-click on the control and select Control Actions for On button clicked. The first thing we need to do is modify where to write the image to initially. Click on the XPath button next to Target node. Delete the existing XPath expression and then add the new image source node from the persistent data source. Click OK. Now we want the app to do some processing on the image after it has been uploaded. Once a user has uploaded an image, MobileTogether will execute the On OK section. The first thing we need to do is delete the existing image. The purpose of deleting the initial image is to produce no image node. Doing this will result in a null value in the database. If we simply update the node, we might put the application into a position where we are inserting an empty string rather than a null value. It is up to the developer to determine which behavior is preferred. Drag a delete node action to the On OK section. Click on the XPath button and select the image node from the Edit Book data source. Click OK. Currently, this control will solicit the user for an image, write it to a temporary node, and delete the existing image. All that's left to do is resize the image if necessary and write it to the image node. We can write this image with the Append to node action. Drag this action to the workspace. Click the XPath button next to Append to node and select the row element from the Edit Book data source. It is important to select the row element here as we will define the image node in the next step. Click OK. Next, click the XPath button next to New Nodes. Here's where we'll need to write a bit of xquery. We want this action to check if either the height or the width is greater than 500 pixels and scale the image down if it is true. If both dimensions are less than 500 pixels, then we will just write the raw image to the node directly. Start this expression by defining an attribute, image. This will create a new image attribute. To determine how to handle the image, we will use an if-then-else expression. This expression behaves the same in xquery as it would in traditional languages. Within the if statement, we are going to utilize the mtImageWidth and height function. This function takes a base64 encoded image and returns the width and height. Type the function name, autocomplete it, and then double-click on the image source element. The behavior of this function is unique to xQuery. Using one value, in this case 500, we can compare against both the height and the width returned by the function. The if statement will return true if either of these values exceeds 500. If the expression evaluates true, we need to resize the image. Add a then statement, and then the mtTransformImage function. This function takes 4 total parameters. First, a base 64 encoded image. Second, a size to resize to. This can be a percentage or a raw number. If you include a single raw number, then the image will be scaled down so that the largest size equals this number. Third, a value to rotate the image in degrees. Finally, a quality percentage from 0 to 100. The larger this number, the larger the image will be. Set the first parameter to be the image source node. The second to 500, since that's the largest we want an image dimension to be. Set the third parameter to 0, as we don't want to do any rotation just yet. And finally, the fourth parameter to 50. A quality of 50% provides a good compromise between quality and image size. Finally, we need a value to use in case the expression evaluates to false and the image already meets our size constraints. Add an else statement and select the image source element. Click OK. The last thing we need this control to do is clear the temporary element. Drag an Update Node action to the workspace. Click the XPath button next to Update Nodes and select the image source element. Click OK. To set this node to a blank value, click on the XPath button next to With Result Of, add 2 single quotes, and then click OK. In summary, this control will now ask the user for an image from their camera, write it to a temporary node, delete the existing image, resize the image if necessary, write it to a new image node, and then delete the temporary node. We will be utilizing the same logic again when we add a button to pull an image from the user's gallery. Knowing this, let's go ahead and convert the logic in the OnOK section to an action group. Select all 3 actions, right-click on one of them, and select Create Action Group from Selection. Name this new action group Limit Image Size and click OK. Finally, click OK to close the control actions for the camera button. Creating the gallery button will be much quicker as we have already done the hard work with the camera button. Control-click on the camera button and drag it to the cell just to the right. This will duplicate this button. Double-click on the button and change the text to Gallery. All we need to do now with this button is change it from utilizing the camera to utilizing the gallery. Open the control actions for this button. Locate the drop-down in the Let User Choose Image action and change the value from camera to gallery. The rest of the logic will remain exactly the same. Click OK. We will leave a third column blank and add a Clear button to the fourth. Drag a button control to the workspace and name it Clear. Open the control actions for your new Clear button. The purpose of this button is to clear the existing image. Drag a Delete Node action to the workspace and click the XPath button. Locate the image node within the Edit Book data source and double-click on it. Click OK twice. The last thing to add to this page is a pair of buttons to handle image rotation. We will position these buttons in the bottom left cell just to the left of the image preview. Start by creating a new table with 1 column and 2 rows. Drag a button control to the top cell and give it text symbolizing a left arrow. Edit the control actions for your new button. This button will need to edit the existing image and rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise when clicked. Drag an Update Node control to the On-Click section on the right. Click the XPath button next to Update Nodes, select the image element, and click OK. Next, click the XPath button next to Result. We will once again build an xQuery expression which will utilize the mtTransformImage function. Start typing this function and let it autocomplete. For the image source, we will use the special variable mtTargetNode. This variable is used in some actions to reference the node to be updated. It is defined as the image node by the Update Nodes action on the previous screen. Leave the size at 100% since we do not need to resize this image. Make sure this value is between single quotes. This time, we will use the third parameter to rotate the image. We want this button to rotate the image 90 degrees counterclockwise. To do this, we will enter a value of -90. Finally, set the quality to 50. Return to the main workspace by clicking OK twice. Make a copy of this button in the lower cell by control-clicking and dragging it. Modify the button to have a textual arrow pointing to the right. The last thing to do is edit this button to rotate clockwise. Open the button's control actions, click on the XPath button next to the result, and change the -90 to a +90. Your app now has the ability to solicit the user for images for each of these records. Feel free to test it using the simulator and make sure everything works as expected. This tutorial walked you through adding images to the book's database sample. We covered retrieving images from both the camera and the gallery, resizing the image if necessary, and providing the ability to rotate the image. The next tutorial will cover adding, removing, and validating individual records in this database. MobileTogether Designer is a free program that allows anyone to easily create mobile apps for any platform. Visit www.altova.com/mobile and start creating apps today.